Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. I am Ebsolon4. You're having a wonderful Hallows Eve. Yeah. So
It's not Hallows Eve.
It's Hallows Eve's day.
Okay.
I know some people think Hallows Eve is the day before Halloween. I think Hallows Eve is a better way to say Halloween. But that's just me. I'm a little weird.
I thought it's Halloween.
Halloween. Anyway, welcome to the stream, guys. I am Ebsolon4. This is Little 15000 joining me here, and we are doing our fourth, count of 1, 2, 3, fourth annual Edgar Allan Poe stream, live stream, right here on YouTube. That's right, on YouTube. So we'll see. It's our first year doing it on YouTube, so we're hoping it's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope that you guys enjoy the show as well. Edgar Allan Poe, being an American poet, if you haven't heard of The Raven or Pendulum or
The Pit and Pendulum.
The Pit and the Pendulum, that's right, or the Cask of Amontillado.
The House of Usher.
The House of Usher, there it is.
Yeah. Okay, you did mention the Raven.
The Raven, that's right. Anyway, a slew of morbid...
Macabre,
that's the right, not morbid, macabre is the right word. Macabre stories and poems. A lot of people don't know is he did not only macabre, he did what else?
What else did he do?
All the teeth.
He did comedy? I know his dad did comedy.
His dad did comedy. That's true.
His dad was a comedian, actor.
That's right. Both of his parents were actors, traveling actors. Early on in life, dear old daddy
Used to like to take to the bottle.
just a little bit, and then he absconded and got tired of family life apparently. Yeah.
And left 3 young children
Yes.
to
3 young children.
poor Eliza, who was also an actress. So they both traveled from here to there.
Yes.
Performing.
Yes. They both traveled performing. Unfortunately, his mother died
At the age of
From-
20.
at the age of
24?
24.
Well,
24
in
from
20s, okay.
early 20s from tuberculosis, and poor Edgar was 2 years old. So he was Edgar Poe, and then he was taken in by the Allen family,
His foster parents.
his foster parents, the Allen family. Only he didn't take their last name. He shoved it in the middle and became Edgar Allan Poe.
Because they had a little bit of conflict with each other, his foster father and himself. So, probably Edgar was probably a little bit headstrong, maybe.
Possibly
A little more headstrong than the foster father was willing to deal with.
Right, apparently so. He in writing, we're going to do one of his comedy pieces. He did write comedy, and it is called The Succession of Sundays. Now, what's interesting is because he married his 13-year-old cousin secretly, and then did it again when they were older. So that story, I think, connects somehow with what happened to him in real life. So that's Edgar Allan Poe, the start of Edgar Allan Poe, right? I think we're ready to do a reading. Who is up first?
Me?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Me? I'm
So-
first.
Our first reading today is going to be, I keep wanting to say tonight because we always do this at night. It's not
Later.
at night, but it's today. So our first poem is Lenore.
Ah, broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll, a saintly soul glides down the Stygian river. And let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, a dirge for the most lovely dead that ever died so young. And Guy de Vere, hast thou no tear? Weep now or nevermore. See on yonder and Richard Pierre, low lies thy love Lenore. Yon air whose cheeks of pallid hue with tears are streaming wet, sees only through their crocodile dew a vacant coronet. False friends ye loved her for her wealth, and hated her for her pride. And when she fell in feeble health, ye blessed her that she died. How then shall the ritual be read, the requiem how be sung, for her most wronged of all the dead that ever died so young? Picavimus, but rave not thus, and let the solemn song go up to God so mournfully that she may feel no wrong. The sweet Lenore hath gone before, with young Hope at her side, and thou art wild for the dear child that should have been thy bride. For her, the fair and debonair, that now so lowly lies, the life still there upon her hair, and death upon her eyes. Avant, avant, tonight, my heart is light, no dirge will I upraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a paean of old days. Let no bell toll, lest her sweet soul, amid its hallowed mirth, shall catch the note as it does float up from the damned earth. To friends above and fiends below, the indignant ghost is riven, from grief and moan to a gold throne, beside the King of Heaven.
Thus is Lenore, Edgar Allan Poe. Why do you like that poem?
Why do I like this poem?
Yes.
That is a really good question. That is a really good question.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the screen because I don't wear my glasses and it looks blurry to me. It's driving me nuts, so I apologize. Anyway, Lenore.
No, I thought that it was interesting that when I was kind of reading this a little bit, that this poem is supposed to be a song of praise and triumph. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know how.
Praise and well, in a way.
Because that's what it was originally. That was the original title of it. Was the Paean.
So Paean.
The Paean, which means a song of praise and triumph. And for whatever reason, they later changed it to Lenore.
New. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. We're moving on then to our next piece today, which is going to be the Colosseum. All right. Lone amphitheater, gray Colosseum, type of the antique Rome, rich reliquary of lost contemplation left to time by buried centuries of pomp and power. At length, after so many days of weary pilgrimage and burning thirst for the springs of lore that in thee lie, I kneel and altered amid thy shadows, and so drink within my very soul thy grandeur, gloom, and glory. Vastness and age, and memories of eld, silence, desolation, and dim night, gaunt festivals, and phantom peopled isles, I feel ye now, I feel ye in your strength. O spells more sure than e'er Judean king taught in the gardens of Gethsemane. O charms more potent than the rapt Chaldee ever drew down from out the quiet stars. Here, where a hero fell, a column falls. Here, where the mimic angel glared in gold, a midnight vigil holds a swarth bat. Here, where the dames of Rome their yellow hair waved to the wind, now wave the reed and thistle. Here, where on ivory couch the Caesars state, on bed of moss lies gloating the foul Adar. Here, where on golden throne the monarch lone glides spectre-light unto his marble home, lit by the wan light of the horned moon. The swift, and silent lizard of the stones. These crumbling walls, these tottering arcades, these moldering plinths, these sad and blackened shafts, these vague entablatures, this broken frieze, these shattered cornices, this wreck, this ruin. These stones, alas, these gray stones, are they all of the great and colossal left by the corrosive hours to fate and to me? Not all, the echoes answer. Not all prophetic sounds and loud arise forever from us and from all ruin unto the wise. As in old days from Memnon to the sun, we rule the hearts of mightiest men. We rule with a despotic sway all giant minds. We are not desolate, we pallid stones. Not all our power is gone, not all our fame, not all the magic of our high renown, not all the wonder that encircles us, not all the mysteries that in us lie, not all the memories that hang upon and cling around about us now and ever, and clothe us in a robe of more than glory. Edgar Allan Poe, originally published 1833. And that is the Colosseum.
What did you like about the Colosseum?
That is cool.
That it's cool.
That it's cool.
You like being wrapped in the crown of glory.
I don't know. It just has a really, really cool rhythm to it. That's why I like it. It has a really cool rhythm to it. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I'm like, I have no idea why I like it. I just really like it. Just, you know.
I mean, you can like the style of the writing,
If I knew anything about writing style, awesome. But I don't. I just like the air of it. You know, it's like you're going back to something that's been abandoned, which is what the Colosseum is. Old, broken down theater, basically. And he just thoughts of you know what you might feel as you walk into something that's just old and abandoned, and I like to go explore those things. Okay, are we ready? Are you ready?
well, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay. So just as an FYI to those around, I've not been feeling 100%. We've had a little tickle and a little cough going on. So we're doing the best we can with what we have. That's all we could do, my friends. But without further ado, we have the oval portrait.
The chateau into which my valet had ventured to make forcible entrance, rather than permit me, in my desperately wounded condition, to pass a night in the open air, was one of those piles of commingled gloom and grandeur which have so long frowned among the Apennines, not less in fact than in the fancy of Miss Radcliffe. To all appearance it had been temporarily and very lately abandoned. We established ourselves in one of the smallest and least sumptuously furnished apartments. It lay in a remote turret of the building. Its decorations were richly, yet tattered and antique. Its walls were hung with tapestry and bedecked with manifold and multiform armorial trophies, together with an unusual great number of great-spirited modern paintings in frames of rich golden arabesque. In these paintings, which depended from the walls not only in their main surfaces, but in very many nooks which the bizarre architecture of the chateau rendered necessary. In these paintings, my incipient delirium, perhaps, had caused me to take deep interest, so that I bade Pedro to close the heavy shutters of the room, since it was already night, to light the tongues of the tall candelabrum which stood by the head of my bed, and to throw open far and wide the French curtains of black velvet which enveloped the bed itself. I wished all this done that I might resign myself, if not to sleep, at least alternately to the contemplation of these pictures, and the perusal of the small volume which had been found upon the pillow, and which purported to criticize and describe them. Long I read, and devoutly I gazed. Rapidly and gloriously the hours flew by, and the deep midnight came. The position of the candelabrum displeased me, and outreaching my hand with difficulty rather than disturbing my slumbering valet, I placed it so as to throw its rays more fully upon the book. But the action produced an effect altogether unanticipated. The rays of the numerous candles, for there were many, now fell within the niche of the room which had hitherto been thrown into deep shade by one of the bedposts. I thus saw a vivid light, a picture all unnoticed before. It was the portrait of a young girl just ripening into womanhood. I glanced at the painting hurriedly and then closed my eyes. Why I did this was not at first apparent even to my own perception, but while my lids remained thus shut, I ran over in my mind my reason for shutting them. It was an impulsive movement to gain time for thought, to make sure that my vision had not deceived me, to calm and subdue my fancy for a more sober and more certain gaze. In a very moment, I again looked fixedly at the painting. That I now saw aright I could not and would not doubt, for the first flashing of the candles upon the canvas had seemed to dissipate the dreamy stupor which was stealing over my senses, and to startle me at once into waking life. The portrait, I have already said, was that of a young girl. It was a mere head and shoulders, done in what was technically termed a vignette manner, much in this style of the favorite heads of Sully. The arms, the bosom, and even the ends of the radiant hair mounted imperceptibly into the vague yet deep shadow which formed the background of the whole. The frame was oval, richly gilded and filigreed in Moresque. As a thing of art, nothing could be more admirable than the painting itself, but it could have been neither the execution of the work nor the immortal beauty of the countenance, which had so suddenly and so vehemently moved me. Least of all, could it have been that my fancy, shaken from its half-slumber, had mistaken the head for that of a living person? I saw at once that the peculiarities of the design, of the vignetting, and of the frame must have instantly dispelled such idea, must have prevented even its momentary entertainment. Thinking earnestly upon these points, I remained for an hour, perhaps, half sitting, half reclining, with my head riveted upon the portrait. At length, satisfied with the true secret of its effect, I fell back within the bed. I had found the spell of the picture in an absolute lifelikeliness of expression, which at first startling, finally confounded, subdued, and appalled me. With deep and reverent awe, I replaced the candelabrum in its former position. The cause of my deep agitation being thus shut from view, I sought eagerly the volume which discussed the paintings and their histories. Turning to the number which designated the oval portrait, I there read the vague and quaint words which follow. She was a maiden of rarest beauty, and not more lovely than full of glee. And evil was the hour when she saw, and loved, and wedded the painter. He, passionate, studious, austere, and having already a bride in his heart. She, a maiden of rarest beauty, and not more lovely than full of glee. All light and smiles, and frolicsome as the young fawn, loving and cherishing all things, hating only the art which was her rival, dreading only the palette and brushes and other chord instruments, which deprived her of her countenance, of her lover. It was thus a terrible thing for this lady to hear the painter speak of his desire to portray even his young bride. But she was humble and obedient, and sat meekly for many weeks in the dark, high turret chamber, where the light dipped upon the pale canvas only from overhead. But he, the painter, took glory in his work, which went on from hour to hour, from day to day, and he was a passionate and a wild and moody man, who became lost in reveries, so that he would not see that the light which fell so ghastly in that lone turret withered the health and the spirits of his bride, who pined visibly to all but him. Yet she smiled on and still on, uncomplainingly, because she saw that the painter, who had high renown, took a fervid and burning pleasure in his task, and wrought day and night to depict her whom he loved, yet who grew daily more dispirited and weak. And in sooth, some who beheld the portrait spoke of its resemblance in low words, as of a mighty marvel, and of proof not less of the power of the painter than of his deep love for her whom he depicted so surpassingly well. But at length, as the labor drew near to its conclusion, there were admitted none into the turret, for the painter had grown wild with the ardor of his work, and turned his eyes from the canvas rarely, even to regard the countenance of his wife. And he would not see that the tints which he spread upon the canvas were drawn from the cheeks of her who sat beside him. And when many weeks had passed, and but little remained to do, save one brush upon the mouth and one tint upon the eye, the spirit of the lady again flickered up as the flame within the socket of the lamp. And then the brush was given, and then the tint was placed, and for one moment the painter stood entranced before the work which he had wrought. But in the next, while he gazed, he grew tremulous and very pallid and august, and crying with a loud voice, "This is indeed life itself!" turned suddenly to regard his beloved. She was dead.
See? Off.
Sorry.
You did a great job. That was the Opal Portrait by Edgar Allen.
I think that it's really interesting that all of these people came down this turret, and they had to have seen that she was withering, that she was dying.
Yes.
And nobody said anything. It could be because maybe he was a moody man.
Yeah, nobody wanted to, nobody wanted to say nothing. You'd probably throw the painting.
Can you see what you're doing to your lovely bride here? You're killing her.
You have to be careful what you focus on in life. You cannot focus on one thing and leave everything else alone. Actually, I think cell phones kind of create the same kind of thing sometimes. You're on that game, Facebook, whatever it is, you don't see nothing. Just like that painter.
Yeah, you don't see anything that's happening around you. I mean, it's like you have just tunnel vision, you know. And why would they? Why did these people do something? You know, why did these people do something? Why did they allow her to?
You know, maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they were just enamored with the painter and his work, and she was just.
They said he had
in the background.
He had huge renown. You know,
Yeah.
was very renowned.
Famous. He was famous. All right, are we ready for the next one?
The next one.
The next one? The next one is the bells. All right. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells! How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme, to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells.
Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight. From the molten golden notes, and all in tune. What a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she floats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony volume in its sweet wells. How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, bells, of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells.
Hear the loud alurum bells, brazen bell. What a tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek, out of tune. In a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire and a resolute endeavor. Now, now to sit or never by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair. How they clang and clash and roar, what a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air. Yet the ear, it fully knows, by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows. Yet, yes, the ear distinctly tells, in the jangling and the wrangling, how the danger sinks and swells, by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 in the clamor and the clangor of bells.
Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their melody compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rest within their throats is a groan. And the people, ah, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple, all alone, and who tolling, tolling, tolling in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart of stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human. They are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls. And he rolls, 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 a paean from the bell, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the paean of the bells, keeping time, 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 in a sort of runic rhyme, to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, 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 as he knells, 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 in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 to the moaning and the groaning of the bells.
And that was The Bells by Edgar Allan Poe. Published 1849. Was that posthumously?
Huh?
Yes, thought so. after his death. Published after his death. A number of his poems were published after his death. So, like they were saying in the thing of reading, Poe didn't make much money by his work.
What was he like at one time? Either bankrupt or he lost all his money to gambling or something like that?
Because he went to college in Virginia, and he got into debt to go through college, like we all do. And his bright idea, apparently, was to go gambling to pay off his school debt. Well, it went as you might expect.
We know how well gambling to become rich works.
Yeah, so it didn't work out, and he ended up having to drop out of college. And then he joined the military. He went to West Point a few years later, and he was actually in the military for some time. I didn't know that. I don't think a lot of people know that part. So he even got to escort some French general to his family home. I think his family lived there at the time, but so that's an interesting bit of the story for Edgar Allan Poe. I think it's time for the Telltale Heart.
I love this story.
This is such a fun story. I hope I do it well today.
Yeah, do it well, like you have.
I'll try. I'm gonna try. Okay, the Telltale Heart. True, nervous. Very nervous. Dreadfully nervous I had been and am. But why would you say that I am mad? The disease had The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed them, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing that keeps. I heard all things in heaven and earth. I heard many things in hell. Now then, hearken and observe how healthily, calmly I can tell you the whole story. It is impossible to say how at first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none. Action there was none. I loved thee. It had never wronged me. It had never given me an insult. For his gold, I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film of it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. So by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take up the life of the old man, thus ridding myself of the eye. Now, at this point, you fancy me mad? Mad into nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded. With what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I came. And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door. Oh, so gently. Then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, in a dark lantern, all closed, but no light shone out. Then, thrusting my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrusted it. I moved it slowly, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening, so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Ah, would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my whole head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously, oh so cautiously. Cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights. Every night, just at midnight. But I found that the eye was always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, his evil eye. Every morning when the day broke, I went into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in hearty tones, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man. Indeed, you suspect that every night, just at 12, I came upon him in sleep. On the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's hand moves faster than did mine. Quickly. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers. But my sagacity, I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door, little by little. He not even to dream of my secret deeds or thoughts. I fairly chuckled at the idea. Perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back. Oh, his room was as black as pitch with thick darkness. The shutters were closed, fastened with weird robbers. So I knew that he could not see the opening of the door. I kept pushing it on steadily and steadily. I had my head in the room and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening. The old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" Quite still. Said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move. In the meantime, I did not hear him. He was still sitting up in bed, listening, just as I have done. I intended, hearkening to the death watches. Presently, I heard a slight groan. I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain, grief. Oh no. It was the low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night just at midnight, when all the world slept, I was welled up in my own bosom, deepening its dreadful echo. Terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it. I knew what the old man felt. Pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise, when he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He'd been trying to fancy them hospice. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor. Or it is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he has been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with its black shadow before him. And it was the mournful influence of the unperceived shadow caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing from my town, I resolved to open a very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, stealthily, until at length a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide. I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue. Hideous veil over it chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot. Now, have I not told you what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses? Now, I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon me. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker, and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous. So I am. And now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet, for some minutes longer, I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder and louder, and I thought the heart must burst. Now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him, and then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wood. At length, it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed, examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon his heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head, the arms, and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. This there was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatsoever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with light heart. But what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused, Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things. But ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat, and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness, until, at length, I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I grew very pale. But I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, and the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound. Such sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gestations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting. I grated it upon the boards, but the noise overrose all and continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God! No, no, they heard! They suspected, they knew! They were making a mockery of my horror! This I thought, this I think. But anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now, again, hark! Louder! 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 Villains, I shrieked! Dissemble no more! I admit the deed! Tear up the planks! Here! Here! It is the beating of his hideous heart!
I love that.
It is
no matter what you do, you just can't. If you do something evil, you just can't hide it. You know.
You just can't.
It just comes out.
It comes out.
I don't know if it just comes out in guilt or or maybe this guy is really speaking from the dead, from the grave. You know. I don't know.
I think his conscience got him.
I think his conscience got him.
Though he seemed to be slightly unstable. I'm not sure I would choose this person as a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to have a lot of discernment, when it comes to choosing your friends.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed you do. I do enjoy that one.
I know, that is fun to hear it.
Good. Good. Okay.
If only for me.
If only for you. That's all. All right, so next up, we're going to bring in Silly J via video, pre-recorded video, mind you. It's afraid she can't be here live, but we're going to bring her in with A Dream Within a Dream.
Take this kiss upon this brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, yawn all long to think that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away, in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep. While I weep, oh God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? Oh God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?
So next up is going to be the Raven. Let me get that over, and then we'll be back on track. All right. Are you ready?
Let me get my coffee now.
I know. All right. There we go. The Raven.
Once upon a mere night dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember brought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I sought to borrow from my book's secretes of sorrow for the lost Lenore. Nevertheless, here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic horrors never felt before, so that now, to still the bleeding of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitors entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, or madam, "truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, fearing. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token. And the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping somewhere louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then where that is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment and this mystery explore. Since the wind open here I flung the shutter, when with a many flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of a saintly days of yore. Now the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of palace just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, but the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou I set art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much are marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, still lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered. Till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, taught from some unhappy master whom a merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster through his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, Nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing. To the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core, this and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight glowed o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tough floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite, and repent from the memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this quiet nepenthe from and forgot his lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on his home by horror haunted, truly, tell me truly, I implore. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a saint and maiden, whom the angels call Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get back thee into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door, quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is streaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that soul that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
Thus the Raven by Edgar Allen Poe.
We do a dream within a dream again.
I think we'll skip the dream within a dream. If you hadn't noticed earlier, kind of messed up the sequence a little, but we're getting back on track, so don't worry. Don't worry at all. Don't worry at all. We have this well in hand. And there we go. All right, that Raven is a long one. Do you ever feel when you read that the Raven will end?
Never more. I think that's why you wrote it, because it's endless.
It's
Never
endless.
more.
It's endless. It just keeps going.
It's like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
Keeps on.
Keeps on going.
What is it? That's
Keeps on ticking.
No, that's Timex. What is the Energizer Bunny?
I
know
don't know.
Timex is the
The Timex one's in my head. Takes a licking, it keeps on ticking.
text looking at the
That's the one that's in my head right now.
Energizer Bunny.
All right, my friends. Next up, we have A Succession of Sundays. This is a comedy. It's a play. We're going to try to do it justice, just the two of us. It has a really long monologue here, and then it gets into the play. So, if she falls asleep, nudge her, wake her up for me. Wait. Just kidding. All right.
I may fall asleep.
I know. This. I'm gonna try to do this justice. But this one's tough. I think this might be harder than the Raven, just slightly.
Well, I think it's harder than a lot of the other things.
Yeah, this one is a challenge. Anyway, without further ado, let's do A Succession of Sundays. You hard-hearted, dunder-headed, obstinate, rusty, crusty, musty, fusty old savage, said I, in fancy one afternoon, to my grand-uncle Rumgudgeon, shaking my fist at him in imagination. Only in imagination. The fact is that some trivial discrepancy did exist between what I said just then and what I had not the courage to say, between what I did and what I had a half a mind to do. The old porpoise, as I opened the dining room door, was sitting with his feet up on the mantelpiece, and a bumper of port in his paw, making strenuous efforts to accomplish the ditty Riblis ton vervid, vid ton verblé. My dear uncle, said I, closing the door gently and approaching him with the blandest of smiles, you are always so very kind and considerate, and have evidenced your benevolence in so many ways, so very many, that I feel I have only to suggest this little point to you once more to procure your full acquiescence. Ahem, said he. Good boy. Go on. I am sure, my dearest uncle, you confounded old rascal, that you have no design really, seriously, to oppose my union with Kate. This is merely a joke of yours. I know. Ha ha ha. How very pleasant you are at times. Ha ha ha, said he. Curse you, yes. Of course, I knew you were jesting. Now, uncle, all that Kate and myself wish at present is that you would oblige us with your advice. You are so very competent to advise us. And as regards the time, you know. In short, it would be most convenient for yourself that the wedding shall come off, you know? Come off? You scoundrel! What do you mean by that? Better wait till it goes on. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's capital. Such a wit. But we wish just now, you know, is that you would indicate the time precisely. Oh, precisely? Yes, uncle. That is, if it would be quite agreeable to yourself.
Wouldn't it answer, Bobby, if I were to leave it at random? Sometime within a year or so, for example? Must I say precisely?
If you please, Uncle, precisely.
Well then, Bobby, my boy, you're a fine fellow, aren't you? Since you will have the exact time, I'll oblige you for once.
Dear Uncle!
Hush, sir. I'll oblige you for once. You shall have my consent. And the plum. Bobby, you mustn't forget the plum. Let me see now. When shall it be? Today's Sunday, isn't it? Well, then, I have it. You will be married precisely now, mind, when 3 Sundays come in succession. Do you hear me, sir? What are you gaping at? I say you shall have Kate and the plum when 3 Sundays have come in succession. But not till then, you young scapegrace. Now, not till then if I die for it. You know me. I'm a man of my word. Now be off.
Here he swallowed his tumbler of port while I rushed from the room in despair. A very fine old gentleman, English gentleman, was my grand uncle Rumgungian. But unlike him of the song, he had his weak points. He was a little pursy, pompous, passionate, semicircular somebody, with a red nose and a thick skull, a long purse, and a strong sense of his own consequence. With the best heart in the world, he contrived to earn for himself, among those who only knew him superficially, the character of a curmudgeon, merely through a predominant whim of contradiction. Excuse me. Like many excellent people, he seemed possessed by a spirit of tantalization which might easily, at a casual, have been mistaken for malevolence. To every request a positive no was his immediate answer, but in the end, in the long, long end, there were exceedingly few requests which he refused. Against all attacks upon his purse he made the most sturdy defense. But the amount extorted from him at last was always the exact ratio with the length of the siege and the stubbornness of the resistance. In charity, no one gave more liberally, or with worse grace. For the fine arts, and especially for the belles lettres, he entertained a profound contempt. With this he had been inspired by Casimir Pierre, whose pert little quarry, "Et quoi un poète est-il bon?" he was in the habit of quoting with a very droll pronunciation as ni plus ultra of logical wit. Thus, my own inkling for the Muses excited his entire displeasure. He assured me one day, when I had asked him for a new copy of Horace, that the meaning of poeta nocitor non fit was a nasty poet fit for nothing fit, an insult which I took very serious dudgeon. His repugnance to the humanities had also been much increased of late by an accidental bias in favor of what he supposed to be natural science. Somebody had accosted him in the street, mistaking him for no less a personage than Dr. Double L.D., the lecturer upon quack physics. This set him off at a tangent, and just at the epoch of this story, for the story it is growing to be after all, my grand Uncle Rumgungian was accessible and pacific only upon points which happened to chime in with his capriolis of the hobby he was writing. For the rest, he laughed with his arms and legs, and his politics were stubborn, easily understood. He thought with Horsley that the people had nothing to do with the laws, but obeyed them. I had lived with the old gentleman all my life. My parents had bequeathed me to him as a rich legacy in dying. I believe the old villain loved me as his own child, nearly, if not quite, as much as he loved Kate. but it was a dog's existence that he led me after all. From my first year until my 5th, he obliged me with very regular floggings. From 5 to 15, he threatened me hourly with hours of correction. From 15 to 20, not a day passed in which he did not swear a round oath that he would cut me off with a shilling. I was a sad dog, 'tis true, but then it was part of my nature and a point of my faith. In Kate I had, however, a firm friend. I knew it. She was a good girl, and told me very sweetly that I might have her, plum and all, whenever I could badger my grand Uncle Rumgungian into the necessary consent. Poor girl, she was barely 15, and without this consent her little amount of the funds would not be comfortable until 5 immeasurable summers had dragged their slow lengths along. What then to do? At 15, or even at 20, for I had now reached my 5th, 5 years in prospect are very much the same as 500. In vain we besieged the old gentleman with importunities. Here was a piece de resistance, as Monsieur Hugh de Grémay would say, which suited his perverse fancy to a T. It would have stirred the indignation of Job himself to see how much like an old Mouser he behaved towards us 2 poor wretched little mice. In his heart he wished nothing more ardently than our own union. He had made up his mind to this all along. In fact, he would have given 10,000 pounds from his own pocket, Kate's plum was her own, if he could have discovered or invented anything like a decent excuse for complying with our very natural wishes. But then we had been so imprudent as to broach the subject ourselves. Not to oppose it under such circumstances, I sincerely believe, was not in the power of my dear, good, obstinate, tantalistical old Uncle Rumgungian. I have said already that he had his weak points, but in speaking of these, I must not be understood as referring to his obstinacy. That was one of his strong points. Assurement si in eta passa soi fuego. When I mentioned his weakness, I had allusion to a kind of bizarre, old womanish superstition which beset him. He was great in dreams, portents, et genius omni o rigmarole. He was excessively punctilious, too, upon small points of honor, although sufficiently loose in regards to large ones. He was a man of his word, beyond doubt, but it was after his own fashion, too. Keep the word of promise to the ear, but break it to the hope, was, in fact, one of his hobbies. The spirit of his vows he made no scruple of setting at naught, but the letter of his word was a bond inviolable. Now, it was this latter peculiarity in his disposition, of which Kate's ingenuity enabled us one fine day, not long after our interview in the dining room, to take a very unexpected advantage, and having thus, in the fashion of all modern bards and orators exhausted in prolegomena all the time at my command, nearly every space assigned me, I will sum up what constitutes the pith of the story in as concise a style as that of Tacitus and Montesquieu. It happened then, so the fates ordered it, that among the naval acquaintances of my betrothed, there were 2 gentlemen who had just set foot on the shores of England after a year's absence, each in foreign travel. In company with these gentlemen, my cousin and I preconcertedly paid old Uncle Rumgungian a visit on the afternoon of Sunday, October the 10th, just 3 weeks after the memorable decision which had so cruelly defeated our hopes. For about half an hour the conversation ran upon ordinary topics, but at last we contrived, quite naturally, to give it the following turn. And so, Captain Pratt, you have been absent from London a whole year, a year to the day as I live,
Let me see. Yes, this is October the 10th.
A whole year to the day, sir, precisely. You remember I called to bid you goodbye. And by the way, Mr. Rumgudgeon, as it does seem like a coincidence, does it not, that our friend Captain Smitherton here has been absent exactly a year also. A year to day. Yes, just 1 year to a fraction. You will remember, Mr. Rumgudgeon, that I called with Captain Pratt on this very day last year to pay my parting respects.
Yes, I remember it well. Very queer indeed. Both of you gone just 1 year. A very strange coincidence indeed. Just what Dr. Double LD...
To be sure, Papa, it is something strange. But then Captain Pratt and Captain Smotherton didn't go altogether the same route. And that makes a difference, you know.
I don't know any such thing, you hussy. How should I? I think it only makes the matter more remarkable. Dr. Double LD...
Why, Papa, Captain Pratt went around Cape Horn and Captain Smitherton doubled the Cape of Good Hope.
Precisely. The one went east and the other went west. You jade. And they both have gone quite round the world. By the by, Dr. Double LD... Captain Pratt, you must come and spend the evening with us tomorrow. You and Captain Smitherton. You can tell us all about your voyage, and we'll have a game of whist, and...
Whist? My dear fellow, you forget yourself. Tomorrow will be Sunday. Some other evening. Oh no, Fee! Bobby's not quite so bad at that. Today's Sunday.
To be sure.
I beg both your pardons, but I can't be so much mistaken. I know tomorrow's Sunday because... What are you all talking about? Wasn't yesterday Sunday? I should like to know. Yesterday...
Indeed.
You
are
out.
Today is Sunday, I say. Don't I know?
Oh no, tomorrow is Sunday. You are all mad, every one of you. I am as positive that yesterday was Sunday as I am that I sit upon this chair. I see it all. Papa, this is a judgment upon you about you know what. Let me alone and I'll explain it all in a minute. It's a very simple thing indeed. Captain Smotherton says that yesterday was Sunday, and so it was. He is right. Cousin Bobby and Uncle and I say today is Sunday, so it is. We are right. Captain Pratt maintains that tomorrow will be Sunday, so it will. He is right too. The fact is we are all right, and thus 3 Sundays have come together. Oh yes, by the by, Pratt, Kate is quite rational. What fools we two are. Mr. Rumgudgeon, the matter stands thus. The earth, you know, is 24,000 miles in circumference.
To be sure. Dr. Double...
24,000 miles in circumference. Now this globe of the earth turns upon its own axis, revolves, spins round these 24,000 miles of extent, going from west to east in precisely 24 hours. Do you understand, Mr. Rumgudgeon?
To be sure. Dr. Double...
Well, sir, this is at the rate of 1,000 miles per hour. Now I sail from this position, 1,000 miles east. I anticipate the rising of the sun. Here at London, just 1 hour. Proceeding in the same direction, yet another 1,000 miles. I anticipate the rising by 2 hours. Another 1,000, and I anticipate it by 3 hours. And so on until I go entirely round the globe. And back to this spot, when having gone 24,000 miles east, I anticipate the rising of the London sun by no less than 24 hours. That is to say, I am a day in advance of your time. Captain Pratt, on the contrary, when he has sailed 1,000 miles west of his position, was an hour, and when he sailed 24,000 miles west was 24 hours, or a day behind the time at London. Thus with me yesterday was Sunday, thus with you today is Sunday, and thus with Pratt tomorrow will be Sunday. And what is more, Mr. Rumgungian, it is positively clear that we are all right, for there can be no philosophical or just reason assigned why the idea of one should have preference over that of the other.
My eyes! Well, Kate, well, Bobby, this is a judgment upon me, as you say. I was always a great old scoundrel, but I am a man of my word. Mark that. You shall have her, my boy, plum and all, when you please. Done up, by Jove. 3 Sundays in a row. I'll take Dr. Double LD's opinion on that.
And that is a succession of Sundays. Succession? Succession. Oh yeah, succession, that one. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed that rendition. I guess I should have clarified before we started. I played the part of Bobby and the part of Uncle Rumgungian, and little one 5000 played the rest. That would be Kate and Pratt and Smitherton. Thank you, Smitherton. Captains Pratt and Smitherton. So I hope you enjoyed it. That was fun. We always liked doing that. It was just kind of a fun little thing. It's kind of a weird. You don't really think of something like that as being from Poe, but that is a lot of. It's a lot of fun. Okay, let's head on to the next one, which will be the Valley of Unrest.
We are not restful.
We are not restful.
We are not at rest.
We are not at rest, and so we shall do the Valley of Unrest. Far away, far away, far away, as far at least lies that valley as the day. Down within the golden east, all things lovely. Are not they far away, far away? It is called the Valley Nice, and a Syriac tale there is, thereabout which time hath said shall not be interpreted. Something about Satan's dart, something about angels' wings, much about a broken heart, all about unhappy things. But the Valley Nice at best means Valley of Unrest. Once it smiled a silent death, where the people did not dwell, having gone unto the wars, and the sky mysterious stars, with a vestige full of meaning, or the unguarded flowers were leaning, or the sun ray dripped in red, though the tulips overhead then grew paler as it fell, quiet as Fidel. Now the unhappy shall confess, nothing there is motionless. Helen, like thy human eye, there the uneasy violets lie, there the ready grass doth wave over the old forgotten grave. One by one from the tree top, there the eternal dews do drop. There the vague and dreamy trees do roll like seas in northern breeze. Around the stormy Hebrides, there the gorgeous clouds do fly, rustling everlastingly through the terror-stricken sky, rolling like a waterfall o'er the horizon's fiery wall. There the moon doth shine by night with a most unsteady light. There the sun doth reel by day over the hills and far away. But that is the Valley of Unrest. Just a nice little poem.
Easy peasy.
All right, we're winding down to the end. We have.
The countdown.
The countdown. Two more to go. Don't worry, we're almost there. All right. Next up is going to be Annabelle Lee.
There was a many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to be loved and loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee, with the love that the winged seraphs in heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee, so that her highborn kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went and being her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of a cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than me, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from this soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
All right, that was.
But I love Annabelle Lee. There's something I just really love about that poem. From the first time I read it, I just like.
It is kind of a little romantic love story with a dead person.
It's kind of like really unusual. But...
It is. It's just somebody missing somebody who's gone. Young, passionate love, where it's more important than anything else. It's a nice thing.
I mean, do we really find that kind of love today?
I think so. I think so. I think young people. I think that's a young people's love. A young people's love. Young, 19,
young love.
Young love. Young love. Probably the most traumatic thing you ever go through in life.
Yeah, I think that's gotta be hard for people who find someone that they love when they're young and then they just take.
Right. Yeah, that would be tough. But I think that's beautiful. All right, my friends, we are coming down to the end of our stream. So we hope that you have enjoyed the stream. Did want to touch one little thing about our host, our real host, Edgar Allan Poe. The end of his life, there's quite the mystery. I don't know. I hadn't heard of this until a couple of years ago. But apparently, not only was the start of his life a little bit rough, he got pretty sickly towards the end.
Well, the end of his life was pretty rough too.
Yeah, his life was just rough. That's
well, you can tell in his writings.
Right, and he wrote prolifically. We have all this wonderful writing, which he hardly got paid for. But apparently he was sick and he needed to travel. I forget where. Do you remember? I don't remember.
No, the only thing that comes to my mind is Philadelphia, but I don't know if it's Philadelphia. Somewhere.
He had to travel somewhere east. Yes, and his wife at the time was pushing to go see the doctor because he was kind of sickly, and he went to visit his doctor, but his doctor was his friend, and they just kind of hung out, had a good time, I guess. And then he went to travel on further on his trip, and he ended up disappearing, showing up a week or 2 weeks later, something like that, in a bar and disoriented. Well, they took him in, and they come to find out he had somebody else's clothes on. The clothes he was wearing wasn't his. And
I wonder how he got those clothes.
it does. It
You know,
does.
It's a mystery.
And it turns out he wasn't just drunk, he was delirious. And he was screaming and raving towards the end before he died. And the doctors at the time, they probably would know, but they had no idea what it was. So they called it.
Put him in like in a mental institution
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, I
like
think
that.
they did. They said his cause of death was, what was it? Swelling of the brain or something like that. Which I guess at the time was code for we got no idea. So there's a whole lot of theories out there on the interwebs if you do a little Google punching keys. I haven't, so I don't know what the theory all of them are as to why and how and what happened and why was he gone for that length of time and why did he show up in somebody else's clothes. Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe he was the one in the telltale heart.
Maybe he was the one in the temple.
Maybe he stole that old man's clothes.
I don't know. Stole the old man's clothes and ran it from the cops. I don't know. It is a mystery of mysteries.
That's true. That's true.
It is a mystery of
Mystery of
mysteries.
mysteries.
All right, so we are going to read. We have one more poem we're going to do called "The Spirits of the Dead," but this is our final prayer. Well, because we're going to leave you at the end of this poem. So I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. Safe.
Check candy if you're going out.
Check candy. Keep the kiddos safe and keep them from getting run over by people. If you're driving out tonight, keep an extra lookout because somebody's liable to run in front of your car. And we don't need it to turn into a ghost story. We have plenty. Edgar Allen Poe left us plenty of ghost stories. We don't need any more. It's okay. Anyway, have a great Halloween, guys. Have a wonderful time. And we will see you on stream. With that, the spirits of the dead.
Thy soul shall find itself alone,
Mid dark thoughts of a gray tombstone.
not one of all the crowd to pry.
Into thine hour of secrecy,
Be silent in thy solitude,
which is not loneliness.
for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again.
In death around thee, and their will shall then overshadow thee.
Be still,
The night, though clear, shall frown.
and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven,
With light like hope to mortals given.
but with their red orbs without beam to thy weariness shall seem.
As a burning and a fever, which would cling to thee.
But 'twill leave thee as each star with the dewdrop flies afar.
Now our thoughts thou canst not banish.
Now our visions near to vanish,
From thy spirit shall they pass.
no more like dewdrop from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God, is still, and the mist upon the hill.
Shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token.
How it hangs upon the trees,
A mystery of mystery.